It's been a pretty incredible year, but I'll admit, coming into the school year, I was filled with trepidation. After all, we were in the middle of a global pandemic with no end in sight, and all of the protocols we had to follow to be COVID safe were antithetical to providing quality care for children and building community. For starters, how do we continue to be a parent co-op when parents can't even come inside the school? How do we as teachers support each other through this time when we can't be in each other's classroom, let alone go out for a drink? And most important, how do we connect with our children, communicating with them and building relationships when they can't even see the smile underneath our mask? To understand my biggest fear, let me give you some history. When I was 16, I had the epiphany that my calling was to teach young children. And I wrote this in my journal, that I saw teaching as a noble profession that I thought matched my skills, and that it not only had the potential for personal fulfillment, but that I might even be able to change the world by empowering the next generation. When I graduated from school and got my first teaching job, I remember waking up on the weekends disappointed that I wouldn't be seeing my kids until Monday morning. And since then, I've taught different age groups in different settings, but teaching has continued to be the love of my life. It has been challenging and inspiring, and the best part is there's always more to learn. Every new group of children has something to teach me. So my biggest fear coming into the school year was that COVID and all of our precautions might rob me of the sustaining joy in my life. Now, those were my fears, but let me tell you about how the school year actually played out. And I want to start by just acknowledging and giving thanks to Dana and Tracy, along with the board, for all the planning that they did to make this year possible. They spent hours poring over conflicting information and ever-changing guidelines, trying to balance risk and safety, and they did a wonderful job. It was not easy, so we do thank you. Change is never easy, and this year was filled with change. We had new arrival procedures, new cleaning procedures, meetings on Zoom, but with it also came silver linings. I think everyone came away with some part of this year that we would love to continue into the future. How wonderful was it to have snack outside, to read stories outside? For me, one of the things that has been very special, and Carol and I have really benefited from the people coming into our classroom. I have desperately missed having all the parents in the classroom, but in their place, we've had wonderful people. Mary Nevin's gentle spirit has been a wonderful addition to the classroom. And what a treat to work with Elaine. She was my very first teaching assistant. She had been a parent at CCNS, and she taught me all the secret handshakes of working in a parent co-op. When she was no longer able to work with us, Clara was able to come into the classroom. Clara's a dear friend. We go way back. I taught her daughter over 20 years ago. And as a teacher, she is an absolute rock star. So those things have been wonderful this year. It's been a really busy year. We painted and carved pumpkins. The children played trains and more trains. Carolyn had the children making pizza, cake, ice cream. But the activity I'd really like to tell you more about is the final art project that the children did, the one behind me. You've seen pictures of it on Instagram and in the newsletter, but I'd like to give you some of the backstory on it. Starting with, I had no intention of doing an extended collaborative project. It came about because we were doing drip and fold paintings, where the kids drip paint onto a manila folder, close it, and then roll on the clean side of the paper. And one child really wanted to roll in the paint. So the following week, we set up an activity solely with this child in mind so that he could roll into the paint, blending colors on paper plates. It was a great activity I will definitely repeat. So that was the first week. The second week, the children cut those plates into pieces. And some of them had real breakthroughs learning to cut. The third week, we prepared the background board. We did this with sponge rollers and plastic rakes. Another activity I've never done before, which I will definitely repeat. The children were so engaged, creating textures in the paint with the plastic rake and then erasing it with the sponge roller. And I sat back and watched the children and was amazed at just how engaged they were. Their excited chatter, working side by side. The fourth week, the children glued the colored pieces onto the board. They drizzled the glue and then selected from a basket of colors, all shades of the greens and oranges and purples that they had created. The fifth week, they added gem stickers. Now, usually these are rationed and reserved for the children making the birthday crowns, but here they had them in abundance to glue all over the board. And then the sixth week, the final week, they added feathers and with glitter glue. And each child brought in one special item from home to add to the collage. You know, shells and stones and pieces of toys. And that is when the magic really happened. Once the board was finished, everyone wanted to gather around it and talk about all the things that we had done to make it and search for not only their item, but the items of all their friends. Look, Max, there's your black rock. Phoebe, there's your red shell. Look, there's Henry's wheel. And each child knew not only their pieces, but all of their friends' pieces. And looking at the final collage, first of all, I think it's beautiful, but also I saw how it holds 6 weeks of our collective shared memories. The excitement, the surprise of making new colors, the pride of learning to cut, just the sheer joy of working collaboratively amongst their friends. It also struck me that the piece is somewhat symbolic of our school. First of all, that it came about because of looking to be inclusive. And when we're inclusive, all of us benefit. Second, that it took all of the children working together to make it. And that we are greater than the sum of our parts. We're always better when we work together. And finally, that each of them contributed a unique piece to the board, and it wouldn't be the same if any one of them were missing. And just like our school, each of us brings our talents and gifts to share, and if any one of us weren't there, it would not be the same place. So, has COVID robbed me of the joy of teaching? No. If anything, it's made it stronger. And so I thank all of you for being part of CCNS that now holds our collective memory of this year, the challenges and the growth, and it wouldn't be the same without every one of you. So thank you for sending me your children, and thank you for continuing to let teaching be the joy of my life.